Everyone, thank you so much for joining in today for this wonderful conversation, the Color Connection event. And this is actually our second event, but thank you. If this is your first time here, welcome. Welcome to all of you. This is a sacred space for healing, and I want to make sure that you understand that this is a place for affirmation. It's a place for us to gather together for truth and to reclaim our worthiness. We're going to shed layers on generational trauma. We're going to shed the layers of internalized shame and the rejection that we get from society that have shaped our beliefs, but have never defined who we are inside, never defined our essence. And so this is a sanctuary of love. It's a sanctuary of sisterhood. It's a sanctuary of renewal. And here we see you. You are seen, you are valued, and you belong. And together we rise. So let's take that in. Let's get ourselves comfortable wherever you are. If you've got your favorite beverage or you're sitting in your favorite chair, whatever you're doing, get comfortable and get ready for some amazing and powerful conversation today. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and just take a couple of deep breaths before we dive in. Let's do what I like to do is, you can do any combination of this. So we'll just do 3, 4, 5 breathing, which is we're inhale for 3, we'll hold it for 4, we'll breathe out of our mouths for 5. And let's do that 2 times to just kind of get us grounded and centered, get some oxygen flowing through our bodies so we can be prepared for today. So if if you want to have your feet grounded on the floor, wherever, like I said, wherever you're comfortable, but you want to be kind of have your back straight so you can take in all that good oxygen that will just give our body so much life. We'll breathe in for 3 through our nose, hold it for 4, and then we'll exhale for 5 with the most loudest, powerful push that you can give. Okay? All right, here we go. Let's breathe in for 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 5.
Ah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do it one more time. I want to hear you when the exhale. I want to hear you just push all of that air out of your body and let that oxygen just permeate through your spirit. Okay, one more time. Inhale for 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's exhale as loud as we can for 5. 1, 2, 3,
Ah.
4, 5. Thank you so much. We are ready to get the day started. And before we start our discussion, we are going to hear from Dr. Joy DeGroot. You may know the name. She is a powerful voice on the impact of white supremacy and intergenerational trauma. You may have heard of her book, Post Slavery. Oh gosh, I don't want now. All of a sudden, I got a brain freeze. Post slavery. Oh, okay. I'm not even going to do it. Dr. Joy DeGroot. Dr. Joy we're going to watch a video from her. Her work helps us understand not just the historical roots of oppression, but the psychological wounds that have been passed down through generations. And then later, we're going to use some powerful techniques like emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping. You may have heard it in that way. To begin to shed those layers and remember who we truly are. So, with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Gigi so we can watch this powerful video, The Impact of White Supremacy with Dr. Joy DeGroot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wanda. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent.
But what is the cumulative effect of living inauthentically?
Oof.
Of living this charade, not being able to be, well, too black.
Yeah.
Can't be too black. See, that's where, where people, again, I don't adjust it. Maybe I'll definitely adjust for children if I'm talking to children about things that are difficult, but I don't adjust for any other audience because I'm a big grown up. My daughter says I've been black too long. That's but I refuse to not be my whole self.
Right.
I refuse to hide who I am. which my whole life, to get that good job, to stay in that space, what
Right.
do? The assault
Yeah.
on our spirits, our minds, our hearts, constant assault, laughing at the joke that wasn't funny, listening to people say things and think it's okay to say, because you're not, well, you're a different Negro. You're the special Negro,
Yeah.
right? Whatever the case, I don't do that. Matter of fact, during Black History, that's when everybody feels it's an appropriate time. It's politically correct to be nice to, the Negroes month, and I just and I want to tell a story. Maybe you not heard this story. I don't tell it often, but it's the story of one of these Black History time. And the only thing I'll do when people invite me to do stuff, generally speaking, I will, close friends, stuff that's where people are conscious and sane, or children. So some years ago, many years ago, I got a call, and it was from the coast of Oregon. It was these people on the coast. It was really very white,
Very.
very, very white. And they said, we'd like you to talk to youth about Martin Luther King being a drum major for justice, right? So very reluctantly, I said, well, it's kids. It's okay. I can take my kids. It's a beach day. I'm trying to justify why. So I get there, got my computer, have my thing all set up, and they're 3 to 6 year olds. The whole audience are 3-year-olds
Oh,
to
wow.
6-year-olds.
Wow.
When he said youth, I'm thinking,
Middle school.
yeah, at least, right?
Least 5th, 6th grade.
And so I take my computer, I just close it and put it down, because that's not what's going to happen. And they were all on the rug with their legs floated, picking their noses and doing it. It's all white except the adopted Asian kids. That was kind of in, white people who adopted. That's the only time you saw any other child. So I'm going, okay, God, what am I going to do? So I said, here's the thing. I said, how many people anybody want to do a skit? I do. All of these kids are hopeful. They're just so cute. So I took 2 little girls. I said, we're going to go upstairs. I'm going to be the teacher. I told them what the skit was going to be. I'm the teacher, and you're the students. So I had them in at chairs, at desks, facing all the kids with, on the floor. And then I had my back to them at my desk. I gave one had a toy and one had a crayon. So when the little girl with the crayon, she got up and left, and the little girl with the toy took a crayon, right? So she comes to me, she comes back to her desk, she sees the girl took her crayon. So she says, teacher, she took my crayon. I said, she did. Yeah, so I have them, we're all standing up front now. I go, did you take her crayon? She said, yes. I said, say you're sorry. She goes, I'm sorry. I said, okay. So I turned around, sat down, and they went and sat down. And the little kids were like, hey, the whole audience is like, wow. But I said, is there a problem? What's the problem? So I said, okay, well, let's do it again. Maybe they didn't hear it. I said, now, did you take a crayon? Yes. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. I said, so she says she's sorry. She's a 3-year-old. This is a 3-year-old, waving at her. She was very upset. I said, is there a problem? She said she got to give back the crayon.
She got to give it back.
She got to give it back. Saying you're sorry, not enough.
Yeah.
So a 3-year-old understands justice. It's not just for her to keep the crayon. And what we have to insist is that they give the crayon back.
That's such a great analogy.
That's a story. It's true life.
Like,
real life.
it's like this is what we need, because people think that, well, it's not happening to me. People think, well, that's not my life. I have a Black friend. My nanny's Black. But I love Black people. My coworker, what's her name?
Right.
And so we think that it doesn't pertain to us. That's not my problem. That's not my scenario. That's not my life. But you really make us see and understand that it's all connected. We're all connected.
Absolutely, we're connected.
The human experience.
It's the human experience. And are we going to wait till, the fire's at our door? And, even in tragedy, I mean, Katrina, look at all the different tragedies. Every single time, the differential response to a tragedy. To a tragedy. They said, oh, they were just looters.
Right.
Right? The other people were finding resources.
I mean, it was the same thing even when you saw some of the images from the fire. Just recently in LA.
That's right.
People trying to get stuff out of their own homes, and they're called, they're looters.
Because again, that image is seared into our brains. And again, the impact what we are carrying. I always say my people are a miracle, and
Yeah.
they are. And I wouldn't never want to be born anything but black.
I tell people all the time, if I
Real
come
clear
back in
about
the
it.
next life, I'm coming back as
I'm
a black
gonna be
woman.
black.
Just,
I'm gonna be black.
I'm coming back as a
You know,
black woman in the next lifetime too.
there is nobody like us on this
It's
planet.
not.
Nobody like us, and
I I want to because when we think that things have changed, so many things remain the same.
yes,
FBI report in 2023, the highest level of hate crimes in the United States. Over 50% of those reported crimes were rooted in race, ethnicity, or ancestry. In 2023,
that is correct.
well over 11,000 hate crime cases.
Yes, and the most significant threat, according to Homeland Security and the FBI, was white supremacy. Their words. Their words.
Wow. Why?
Okay, so that's just a clip of a much longer 12, 13-minute YouTube video with Dr. Joy DeGruy. I will post the link so that you all can watch that in your own time. But I really like this video because it really explores how generational trauma and internalized shame and societal rejection have shaped our beliefs about ourselves. And so today's conversation is to discuss that in greater depth, dive deep, and have some healing. So we are no longer hung up by those chains of unworthiness. And so I'm going to give it back to you, Miss Wanda. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that video. I did find Dr. DeGrew's book is called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and I will put a link to that in the chat. Speaking of the chat, if you have any questions throughout the day, please feel free to drop those questions in the chat, any comments. We welcome you to this interactive space. So we want to make sure that you know that your questions, your comments, your feelings are all valued here. What I like about the video, before we go to the panel, if I may, I love the fact that she had these 3-year-olds, and it shows us that kids come into the world just welcoming and full of empathy and love. They aren't born with the things that we learn. And we're talking about unworthiness today. The harmful impact of language, the things that children witness and are told, are those results of how we got to the place where we're feeling unworthy in our lives, whatever time that is. The children don't own those negative feelings. We kind of, they learn them through the experiences that they have. And so I love that video because it's a great explanation, or it's a great analogy to show people that justice is rooted in empathy, but the empathy starts from us being children, and we are born, like I said, just precious loving beings that over time we learn these things about being unworthy, about those things that are said to us, the harmful language, the things that we witness are the things that kind of layer in our soul, and they show up, and the way we show up in the world are impacted by those things. Also, look, I'm starting the hashtag give the crayon back because I love that hashtag give the crayon back. We want to make sure that people know that, again, it's about justice, empathy, love, and it's about our own worthiness. And we are worthy of justice, we are worthy of empathy, and we are worthy of love.
Yes.
All right. So before we go any further, I just wanted to also remind you that if you're in the audience, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you're muted. But we want to hear from you. We want to engage with you. Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to put your comments in the chat, and make sure that you are interacting with us now and in the future, following the Color Connection and making sure that you're part of this community. So we're going to move on to our panel. And we're going to step into this space of truth and reflection and shared wisdom. Our panelists will bring their lived experience, their insights, their voices to the conversation on reclaiming our worthiness. And through their stories, We will explore the impact of generational trauma. We'll hear from their experiences. We'll learn about internalized shame, societal rejection, and most importantly, their paths to healing. So let's lean in, let's listen deeply, and let's welcome our panelists. We have Hadara Knuckles. We have Dr. Regay Akambasi. We have Dr. Deanne Crosby. And we have Melissa Muganzo. And of course, we have our tech goddess, the woman behind the Color Connection, Dr. Gigi Smith. Thank you so much for being here, panel.
And just one quick thing. We have our melanated sisters and we have a brother. And so the Color Connection is for melanated sisters by melanated sisters and all of those people that love us, support us, and want to empower us. If you have any technical issues, Victoria is here. Just drop her a note in the chat and she's there to support you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gigi. So, panel, what I would like you to do is, since we have a little extra time here, can you just give us a short introduction of who you are and how you came to this conversation today? I'll start with Hadara.
Thank you so much, Wanda, and thank you, Dr. Gigi, for inviting me to this platform. During our initial conversation, I just expressed how, this is so vital for this time. And so I'll go back to the question, but I just wanted to express that. I am Hadara Bonita Knuckles. Bonita is my birth name. Hadara is a name that I adopted for myself as it relates to this topic we're going to talk about today. And by trade, I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for close to 30 years. 2 years, it'll be 30 years. I spent 21 years in the Air Force doing nursing and then came out of the military into the community. And I got some experiences, especially with the military white male population and Vietnam veterans and how they relate to people of color. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. I currently reside in Fairfield, California. I have 2 adult children, and that's me.
Thank you so much. Dr. Crosby.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you, Dr. Gigi, my dear sister, and all of my sisters on the panel. Thank you, Sister Wanda, and our interpreter, Erica, who's here today. So I'm Dr. Deanne Elaine. Deanne Elaine is my middle name, and Crosby is my last name. So if you ever see Dr. Elaine, that's me too. So I'm Dr. Crosby, and I am an American Sign Language advocator and influencer, as well as an educator of American Sign Language for over 20 years now, and the founder of Sign With Me Incorporated for over 22 years now. And what I immerse myself in is visual-based learning and using language as a way to unlock communication and connection among individuals and their families, not just those who are deaf and hard of hearing, but those who may be autistic, are aging adults, those who are on the spectrum that may have challenges with speech or with communicating. And so, how did I come across the color connection, being a language expert in a sense? I met the beautiful Dr. Gigi on our Mindfest that is curated by Corey Cofield. And we hit it off and shared so many different experiences. And I'm actually in the process of branding myself individually to be able to share how the journey of unlocking the vault that's in you and coming into your true self and share my experience. And that's how I ended up being here, not really realizing I had a story really to share and tell, but I do, and as we all do. And I've been on this journey of healing since my 20s. About 26 is when I started. So I'm talking over 30 years of having come into my true self and still growing. And I love to be able to share those ideas with others. And so I'm here today with excitement and enthusiasm. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crosby. Melissa.
Greetings, everyone. I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Crosby. My sister is a hip hop interpreter. So I have so much love for folks that are able to interpret and provide language opportunities for folks. So thank you for being here. My name is Melissa Muganzo. My pronouns are she, they, and sis. Please excuse my voice. I saw the Queen Beyonce this week and I am on 1,000 from screaming my life away, just being empowered by the visual she gave. I am an entertainer. I am a acting professor and I'm also a business owner. And being in community with people that look like me, have had experiences like me, and also want to expand like me gives me motivation to keep going. As a multi-hyphenate woman that can do a lot of really beautiful things, I was also raised in a hyper-religious and hyper-cultural household where worthiness wasn't discussed. Happiness wasn't discussed. The idea of choice wasn't discussed. The idea of saying no wasn't discussed. And I know that I am one in my generational line be reclaiming all of that because the women before me never had a chance to discuss those things. And I know it's my duty as a millennial to show them that they still have time to be happy, to live life, to have choice, to say no, to stand and rise in their universal power and to own their beauty that they have inside. So I'm very excited to have conversations about Blackness, how beautiful it can be, and how we all deserve to feel worthy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, as long as you're breathing, you have an opportunity to turn that thing around, right? Dr. Regay.
Good afternoon, ladies. Dr. Gigi, thank you for having me on panel. I appreciate you and all the beautiful queens and kings who are present today. It's a blessing to be here. My name is Dr. Reggae Akambasi. I am a homegrown native of Sacramento, California. I serve in our community for over the last 25 years to help empower and instruct young entrepreneurs who have a passion for multimedia. I've worked as an executive producer and director and instructor for over 2 decades, which has led us to a place of being able to share our own stories and to be able to have technical elements within that story that resonate to show our growth, our beauty, our positive images, and to deflect from the negative perceptions and stereotypes. So often we teach our young entrepreneurs who are in film how to color the set properly for our melanated skin, how to address craft services when we're mostly plant-based diet. Our organization also provides food production and education centered around eating right for your blood type, alkaline-based vegan healing, and we teach chefs. We have a group of elite chefs how to dial that in and provide that service on set and in community. So I am here because I'm excited to be able to have this conversation and discussion with my peers and with our audience, and also to help raise the bar and empower our applicational knowledge and excitement for who we are. So
Yes,
thank
thank you. Thank you so much. And our own queen, Queen G, Dr. Gigi, did you want to give a brief just hello? I mean, you're the creator of this.
Yes, I am so grateful. This is our second event, as Miss Wanda has indicated, and I am excited to say that we have had a 500% increase in the number of people that have registered for the Color Connection. So that means the word is getting out. People are listening live, they're listening on replay, but the point is they're listening. And I'm really desirous of getting this message viral, that as African Americans, we are worthy, we are deserving of the best people, places, things, and experience, period. Full stop. Don't collect $200. That's just who we are. And we don't have to be subordinate to anybody, to any dominant class, to any white man, nobody. We are it. And so I'm just grateful that we're getting this word out, grateful for the panelists, grateful for our sponsors. And we do have one of our sponsors here right now. and that is Mr. Corey Cofield, and I'd like to give him an opportunity to share a few words as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great to see this. I'm excited to see. I love our Black women. Period. You know, like I say, I may be wrong, but I even tell my boys that's out here starting life, don't come home without it. Like a lot of people may think that's wrong, but my boys in sports, high level sports, and telling you is always others around them trying to get their attention. But I'm like, you show people that the world that you can have a successful melanated family and do right. And so I'm always up for supporting the movement, because without women, it's over. Just shut the world down, flat out. So I'm proud of you, Dr. Gigi. I'm glad to be here. And ashe to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corey. I'm taking the words. Don't leave home without it, right? Don't come home without it.
Don't come home
I'm gonna
without it.
tell my son, look, because my son lives in Arizona, so you already know. All right, so let's get into the conversation today. And what we'll do with this portion of the conversation is all of the panelists who I'll ask a question, and whoever feels that they have an answer, then please feel free to do that. We won't have to go through every panelist for every question. If there's something that you want to chime in, please do so. So the first question I have for anyone that would like to answer is, can you share a personal moment when you felt unworthy, and how did you work through that experience?
I would love to answer that because this incident happened recently. I'm a member of a club that is worldwide, and it's not many people of African American descent. And so sometimes when you're in these environments, you just automatically expect you're going to stick together, right? And so I was on a team with one other person of color who is a brother, and myself and a woman of European persuasion. We were the team leaders for this activity. And every time a question came up, he would go to her for an answer. Or if there was something that needed to be done, and him not knowing that everything that had been done up to that point, I was the one facilitating it. But sometimes people try to take credit for what you're doing. And so she kept trying to take the credit, but when I would try to speak, he would refer to her. So even though I know I was doing the work, how I just felt like, wow, he just is literally overlooking me. And this is a brother. And so I actually took him aside at a point in time, and I shared with him, and I said, this is how you're making me feel. This is how I'm really feeling. And you of all people, I would just expect that we could communicate, but why are you doing this? I literally asked him, and he did not have an answer. He didn't have an answer. And so I think that, he has a very high position. He's actually a former judge. And so all I could attribute it to is that the environments he has been in has taught him to not acknowledge, and not make people of his same persuasion feel worthy. And but I just let him know how I felt, and I hope that he's thinking about that, and he will continue to think about that in the future. So.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a heartbreaking but real point, right? Of what we are surrounded with. And again, when I talked earlier about, children, I talked about the 3-year-olds, and Dr. Joy did as well. We're taught these things by the surroundings that we're in, right? So thank you for sharing that. And would anyone else like to chime in on a moment that you felt unworthy and how you worked through that experience?
I'd be happy to share. Unworthiness continues to show up, so I can continue to work on it. I don't want to center it as one big moment, but the moment that sticks out to me the most is when I'm applying for grants or if I'm applying for some type of job opportunity. You see this really grand title or you see this really large amount of money. And as soon as you see it, you're like, this is absolutely something I can do. You go through the job description, you're like, I can do this with my eyes closed. I've done that. You look at all your documents, you look at all your history, but there's something about still submitting that makes you dig deep and ask yourself, am I good enough? There's something about it. Will they take me? Will they like me? And then you get the interview. And now you're second guessing, is this the right shirt? Is my hair done the right? Especially as a Black chocolate girl. Is my hair okay? Are my clothes okay? Am I speaking in a specific way so that will receive me? Did I say all the key words in that grant document? And then you go into the interview and you see no one that looks like you on the review panel, no one that looks like you in the interview panel. And you can tell that before you speak, they're already scrutinizing every single thing about you. Is she professional enough? Is she less non-threatening enough? Is she someone that will be upset if we tell her no? Is she someone that will listen to what we tell her to do, even when she doesn't want to? And what sticks out to me the most is that every time I stand up for myself and I apply for an opportunity or I go after a grant, it is me advocating for my future self because my future self, she is so bold and so badass, and she knows that I'm going to overcome so much. And so anytime I lean deep into a sense of doubt or unworthiness, I have to stare at my future self straight in the eye and say, girl, thank you. Thank you for giving me the strength. Thank you for giving me the courage. Thank you for reminding me that I will never see my fullest potential if I don't try, if I don't submit, if I don't just throw my name in the hat at opportunity. So as someone that's constantly working on self-esteem and growing and stretching and reducing the ways that capitalism and a lot of really European whiteness reminds me to second guess myself, I'm constantly advocating for my future self to check myself by going after things that force me to look at my sense of unworthiness and ask myself what's true and what's real.
Oh, girl, you said a whole word, and I want to kind of wrap a little bit more around what you said too, because especially as business owners and professional women, we face that all the time. Thank you so much for giving us something to look forward to. Now, in hearing what you're saying, I'm like, okay, future Wanda, we got this. Let's do this. We're about to go. So thank you so much for giving us those words of wisdom that we can use to carry forward. Thank you so much. The next question I'm going to throw out to Dr. Crosby and Dr. Regay, and you can answer this, either one can go first. But how have family dynamics or generational trauma influenced your sense of self worth?
I'll
Wow. Go
I
ahead.
love it.
Go ahead.
both of us like tag team. They did that. Do you mind if I start first, Doc?
My honor. Go ahead.
I have a very interesting story. Born and raised in Watts, Los Angeles, California, to my paternal father, his mother raised us because he was murdered when I was 4, and so my grandmother raised my brother and I with her remaining 3 children and her husband in Watts. I'm saying that I'm setting it up for purpose. My mother, who was um, around but not always present, she was doing her thing. I would just say that. So she would come in and out. Okay, so I would see her, didn't have a relationship with her as I had with grandma, but I knew who my mother was. And so that dynamic of being raised and hearing negative things, you just like your mama, you gonna be this or that. Because my mom was a stripper, my dad was a drug dealer, died in a gang. My mom was in and out doing her thing. So I would hear all this negativity from my family about my mother often. By the time I was 16, my godparents took over guardianship of my life. And so that transition, and I'm talking about the first 16 years with mom not being present all the time, dad not being present because he was gone, and then having my paternal family raising me with all this negative input about my mother. All right. And so from up to 16, you have that to deal with, and then from 16 on. So my godparents coming into my life sowed so much love, so much confidence, so much education, so much strength and power. The celebration of my height. I'm 6 feet tall, learning to love myself. I got so much positive influence that allowed me to go back and deal with the first 16 years of that negativity. So to answer your question, I find it a very interesting way to say it, because I had all this negativity, but then a shift in my life, which I count as being the most pivotal point of my existence, is having my godparents who raised me from 16 on, you know what I'm saying, poured so much into me spiritually that allowed me to be able to deal and manage and overcome and actually change the whole trajectory of my existence and building the foundation for me to build on. And then that foundation was a healing foundation that was sown with lots of love and attention and fortification, and it built my self-worth, my self-esteem, my confidence in being a beautiful Black woman. Because the first 16 years I didn't believe I was, because I was told I was too Black, too ugly, you know, too tall, too this, too that. It was always from a negative spin of what I looked like. Didn't really believe I was pretty until, after that healing process. I had to be in my 20s before I really came into realizing, okay, I do like my eyes. I do like my nose. I do like my smile. Starting to have some self appreciation for who I am as a person. Now, I don't know if that would have happened, or if that had happened much later on in life, had my godparents not stepped in at the time that they did for me.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a powerful example. Thank you. Dr. Regay.
Yes, well, being native here in Sacramento, we've always experienced diversity. At a young age, my parents were of different, both Christian, but my father was Catholic, my mother was Baptist. So I went to Catholic school and Baptist church. I was Baptist. And with that dichotomy, I was given freedom to choose how I believe, how I serve, how I worship. But the way I was treated in one environment, I knew as a kid I wasn't really received as well as another environment. At school, Catholic school, shots out, St. Anne's on 24th in Meadowview. I was constantly asked, what are you mixed with? By folks who were, same color or non-same color. And it confused me because both my parents are chocolate. And so my response was, I'm mixed with my mom and my daddy. And it was like, no, well, you have light skin, hazel eyes, you got to be mixed with something. And it caused me to go home and really question with my parents, why do people think I'm mixed, and what is being mixed? Why is there such a significance placed on this mixed aspect? All I know is I'm here. I was birthed. I was born. I celebrate who I am collectively. I've got chocolate parents, caramel parents. Here I am, chocolate caramel swirl in the middle. And it was to the point where even the teachers started to question my identity. They asked questions about my hair. I remember my third grade teacher, I won't say her name, sniffing my hair. Of course, we wore natural hair, braids, locks. And so I was dope that day, smelled like carrot and rosemary oil, right? But to her, there was a great disdain. And she made a public statement in that classroom in regards to how often do you wash your hair? And in certain communities, we don't wash daily. We retain our oil, right? So that we can retain the porosity level of our scalp, pH, and let that thing grow. And so I explained to her, every 3 weeks, I'm in the shop. And she was just like aghast. And it left me with a sense of trauma, as if I was doing something wrong hygienically, personally, culturally, right? And I knew at that moment I wasn't going to fit into this culture. I went back, talked to my mother about the incident. And my mom, she went back and talked to those sisters with me. and elected that we have a multicultural day so that way we can help you understand how our culture lives its best, most natural life. And we did so. And that gave me the empowerment to really share the differences and the similarities that we all have as human beings, despite what nationality we are or resonate with. And so for me, it was an empowering but educational pivot to know that in certain spaces, I have to stand strong and know who I am unapologetically. When I show up on paper, I can't hide the fact my name is reggae, like the music. So you know what's about to come. But I've had experiences where I was asked, "Why don't you just go by Ray in television, right?" Because that way you don't disclose, you know, your cultural background. And so with that, I took the same approach of educate and inspire that my mother taught me young, so that I can educate them and inspire. You might get that ray of sunshine, but you're going to get the gay too, the happiness. You're going to get the full package, the ray and the gay. And I'm grateful for those learned and lived experiences.
Yeah. Oh, that's a powerful story. And as you were sharing your story, I was thinking about our young girls and how, and maybe even our own experiences as young girls, how we've had to wrestle with the identity factor, right? And that has a huge impact on our worthiness when your teacher's telling you that you're this, or they're questioning you, or and just think about our young girls. And that's why we need to fortify them as we're doing our own healing work, because we are grown women doing our healing work, walking in our own healing, also giving that back to the next generation, so that the young ladies that are coming up, the children, the girls that are coming up, don't have to wait so long to receive some of the message that we might have received later in life. And so, thank you all for sharing that powerful, powerful example of how generationally and societally, how we have felt unworthy and how we came to stand in our power and our worth. Dr. Gigi, I'm going to come to you with this question. Speaking of societally, what role has societal rejection played in shaping how you see or saw yourself, and how did you navigate that?
I think that's a great question, Miss Wanda. And I'll use the subject of my hair. So I'm a 60-year-old woman, child of the 60s, born in the 1900s, long, long, long time ago. But I remember getting my hair permed, bone straight, probably as, really young, because I remember seeing pictures and my hair was straight. And it doesn't come out straight, out of the scalp. And it was straightened because my parents didn't think that this was okay. This nappiness, this kinkiness was acceptable. And and so I grew up thinking it wasn't acceptable either. And, certainly after I was conditioned to keep it straight, then after a while I could do it myself, and I would get those French perms that promise bone straight hair because I want it to flow, just like Becky's hair flew in the wind. I wanted to have that look. I grew up a military brat. My dad stationed at Mather. And so I saw, Black boys really love the girls that didn't look like me. They love the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls, or the really light-skinned chicks with long flowing hair. And I wanted to have that too because I just didn't think it was right. And it took me a long time to realize there's really nothing wrong with this. And in fact, it's beautiful. It took me a long, probably 2008, 2009, because I would see people with locks and I would be like, man, that must take a lot of courage to just wear your hair and be that way. And I remember at the time in 2009, I had just been hired to Governor Brown's cabinet. And I had decided I'm going to go lock. I'm going to start the lock journey. And so I had to cut off all my hair, start with little itty bitty little twists. And I saw my dad and he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" And I told him, I said, I am getting locks. He's like, are you a goddamn fool? And he said it just like that. You know, he said, didn't you just get hired by Governor Brown and you want to go in looking like a pickaninny? And he said it just like that. And I tell you, the blood just emptied from my face. And I thought, yeah, this is who Gigi is. This is, and it really even took me a while to show up because, I didn't really like that little tiny look. I wore wigs for a minute until it got a little bit longer. And because I wasn't comfortable, it took me probably another year to get comfortable, letting it go. And when I did, I got looks mostly from Black people like, are you serious right now? And it took me a long time to be, yeah, this is who Gigi is. This Gigi looks like this. This is her hair coming out of her scalp, and it looks like this. It's kinky. And it has this texture to it, and I love it. And if that's your problem, I mean, if you don't like it, then that's your problem. And so, fast forward to 2025, on my second set of locks, I tell you, I don't think I would do anything different. And I'm grateful that I've come to this point to say, not only do I like this hair, I like this skin, and I like me. And it took me a long time, 60 years, to be able to say all of that. And I'm grateful to be able to say that now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What a beautiful sentiment in regards to just self-acceptance, right? Part of that unlearning unworthiness is that self-acceptance. So, what practices have helped you unlearn the limiting beliefs and helped you reclaim your power? And this is to anyone in the panel. So, I ask the question again: what practices have helped you unlearn limiting beliefs and reclaim your power?
I want to start with features. Gigi, thank you for being open about that. I remember when I was in therapy and I was navigating my feelings about my complexion and my hair. And my therapist goes, do you think your mother's beautiful? I said, oh, God, yeah. Do you think your aunts are beautiful? I'm like, oh, they're the most beautiful thing. They said, you look like your aunt and your mom. And for some reason, I never process that when I'm critiquing myself. That when I say I don't like myself, I say I don't like my mom. I don't like my aunts. I don't like my grandparents. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at my sister. I don't like my sister. When she helped me to recognize that all of us have the same features, I shut that all down because I would never say that. And for those of you that are parents on this call, your children have your features. And if you think they're beautiful, you think you're beautiful, right? It's one through line. And that has helped me to shut that all down. So I don't even say that anymore because I would never say that because I don't believe that any of my family members are unworthy, undeserving, ugly, hair terrible. I don't even think that. So that was the first thing that was a practice for me. The second thing was any time where I felt as if I wasn't good enough, I would ask myself, why? Why? Where is that coming from? Because if I am my own best friend and I am my own cheerleader and I want to be successful and I want to feel joy, then that can't be me that thinks that I'm unworthy. That voice, that thought must be coming from a critical voice that I believe more than myself. But if I know myself the best and I know everything I've overcome the best, and I understand my resilience and my badassery the best, how can I let this critical voice that doesn't know those things trump all the things that I know about myself, right? So those are the ways that I always put into practice about anytime I'm navigating those feelings of, wait, where is this actual voice coming from? Because I wouldn't bully myself. I don't hate myself. I am my own biggest cheerleader. I think I'm that girl. So I wouldn't say that to myself. And once you recognize where that voice comes from, that criticalness, then you can also shut that down because that means that's also not a voice of safety or a voice of reason. And you wouldn't trust that voice to lead you into your future. So those are some of the things that I use.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Melissa, wow. High five. Go ahead, put it up, put it up, put it up. Oh my
Right?
gosh. As you were speaking, it reminded me of a vivid memory. I remember I spent probably 4 years of my life living with my birth mom, my birth mom. And so that was from like 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. And I remember my mom, my birth mom she was beautiful. I mean, I just always was enamored by how pretty she is. She was a little bit lighter than me, but small, petite, but she could beat that face, and the woman was bad, okay? And I remember standing in the bathroom as she's getting ready to go out and party, and I'm just watching her put her makeup on, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I said, I want to be pretty like you. And she looked in the mirror and looking down at me, looking in the mirror, and she said, You are. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I started naming, look at my skin, I'm dark. Look at my neck, it's all black. I started naming all the different reasons why. Look at my hair. It's not like my mom had nice wavy hair. I had, kiki hair, short, and so I never had the long hair, but now I do. Check out my lock show. Now I do. But I always had short hair, and I had such a complex about it. And she said, You are. And it took me a long time to get to the place where I really accepted me. And so people would tell me, You have a beautiful smile. I never believed it. Oh, you have pretty eyes. I never believed it. I believed that I was just too tall, too dark. I believed the negative over the positive. And so by the time I got 16, I started living with my godparents. My mom would say, and she realized the negative talk that I was having about myself because I would refer to it often, being too tall, being too dark, my hair too short, that sort of thing. And so she said one day to me, I think I was complimenting her on how pretty her hands were. And she had natural nails. She didn't have any of the acrylic or anything like that. Natural nails, just this sun orange burnt skin, just a beautiful woman, my godmom. And I said, You're so pretty. I love your skin tone. And I love your hands. Like my hands are short and stubby and my nails don't grow like that. It was always pointing out the negative about myself. And so she said, No, your hands are beautiful. All you have to do is just love them. Tell your hands you love your hands. These are your hands that you use to earn wealth, to make things happen, to hug people, to nurture. You use these hands for so much, and you sign your gift is in your hands. And so she would always speak life into me. And then I remember I was talking about my feet, how pretty her feet was compared to mine. Your feet are so pretty. And she was like, Yours are too. I said, Oh, look at my feet. And so she said, You know what? Your feet take you everywhere you need to go. Love your feet. They take you everywhere you need to go.
Please.
She started telling me how to love the parts of me that I always pointed out the negativities about, right? And so that started to take root. So, in terms of how, as a child, you're hearing all this, and then you start hearing positivity, and you're having to convince yourself to believe that that's even true, and then get to the place where you start having self acceptance about who you are as that person. That was probably those seeds that were sown and how she watered them. She celebrated my height. She would not let me slouch. I'm 6 feet tall, I told you, right? So, as a tall woman, oftentimes we're often around people who are not as tall as we are. And so we have a tendency to kind of, cower down or bend over, to kind of balance out with the height of others. And she would, no, no, stand up. If you saw me sitting, but put those shoulders back. And so it's those sort of things. And I didn't take it as her nagging. She was building me. She was pouring back into me. So that's how we're able to begin the journey of self-awareness, is accept and believe what people are saying that that's positive about us. Just like we took it so easily to believe the negative.
That's powerful, and you're absolutely right. It's like we gravitate to the negative for some reason. We tend to believe that more, than what was really true about us, the positive, the beautiful aspects. And I love the fact, Dr. Crosby, you shared when I get up tomorrow and I lotion my body, I'm gonna be like, hands, I love you. Arms, I love you. Legs, thank you for carrying me. I walk 1 to 3 miles every day. Thank you for carrying me on my walk every day. Feet, thank you for, and really just loving on my body. So thank you so much, Dr. Crosby. That's beautiful and amazing. Would anyone else like to share what practices have helped you unlearn limiting
Okay.
beliefs and reclaim your power? Dr. Regay?
Love to be, and thank you, Dr. Crosby, for sharing that. I come from a family also where most of the women are 6 feet tall or taller. I was blessed with the 5'9" gene, and so it was a little different for me. I was also blessed with my dad's side of the family's phenotype, and so I'm a big woman. I was a big girl, and it was very difficult coming up in the world, being big. If folks would say stuff like, "Oh, you're pretty for a big girl," or you've got a lot going on, but I see you, big girl, do your thing. And it just struck me so odd. And so my mom was model. She was a model for a long time in her college years and very thin. And so I didn't see a lot of myself in her, right? Academically, yes, but physically, no. So I went to my dad and I had to ask him, you're a big guy. You went to college, you played football, you were headed to the pros. Your bigness was celebrated. How do I celebrate my bigness, right? As a woman. And my dad gave me words of encouragement. First, he said, remember who you are. Remember whose you are. And that caused me to go back to the word. I had to go back to my word to see who God said I was, right? And side note, when we got in trouble, we got put on restriction, we had to either copy the dictionary or copy the Bible. That was our get off restriction, right? Pass. And so I remembered 1 Peter 2:9. We are a chosen people. We are a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. That's who God said we are. And so I had to go back and remember I'm holy. I'm chosen. I'm set apart. I'm big and I'm healthy. Because a lot of times I did not at young connect being big to healthy. I saw big as what they were telling me big was: slow, lazy, poor hygiene, right? And that wasn't me. I couldn't resonate with that. And so after time went on, it helped me to reaffirm spiritually who I am, that I was formed in God's divine image. So I need to hold that up high because God is expecting me to answer that call, right? And then I had to make that word applicational knowledge, meaning that I needed to apply it every day to my life. And so I started our first business, Reggae's Healing Shop, creating shea butter so that we can anoint our body and anoint our head with oil. And so teaching myself and other women how to fall back in love with every curve, every slope, every dip, every hip. It's important. It matters to the Most High. It matters to us, and it's beautiful. And from there, it just became opportunities daily to just sit with self and affirm with self. You're royal priesthood. Ain't no such thing as a skinny king or a skinny queen that stays on the throne for many generations. Let's do homework. So I researched Queen Khalifa and her statue. She was over 6 feet tall. She was a big girl, right? But she was also one of the most wealthiest queens, and they named California after her. And she's within my lineage. And so I celebrate her as I celebrate myself, my mother, my grandmother, my father, and his side of the family, and all that we are.
Can we pick the mic up that Dr. Regay just dropped?
Wow. Can I add a
Come
little?
on,
Holy
come
moly,
on.
holy moly.
Can I add?
Come on with,
Yeah.
oh man, I love all of that. I mean, just knowing it's that identity is so important, and knowing not only who you are, but whose you are, and instilling that, your parents instilled that into you as a child. And as I talked about earlier, is that once we are walking in our power and we're finding our way to our wholeness, to our worthiness, is we have to pass that on. We can't hold that to ourselves. We have to pass that on. Thank you so much. I wanted to read a comment. Mel said, she struggles with loving her left hand because of a childhood injury that had haunted her all of her life, but now she will love on her hand out here. All right. So thank you, Mel. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, tomorrow morning, sisters, I challenge each and every one of you, when you buttering up, when you lotioning down, when you doing all the things, say some affirmations over yourself. I am, who God says I am, or whatever you need to affirm you, because once we get here, we haven't arrived. It's a daily process. It's a daily thing, because I might be feeling good today, and I'll just share y'all with y'all. And I know I'm gonna move on, but this morning I was feeling good. I was headed to the radio station to do my show, and I parked my car and I went to go start it back on, and the car wouldn't start. And that little bit there, and the day that happened afterwards, and having to call the tow truck and AAA saying we can't come get you, and all of these things could have really ruined my day, but I had to reaffirm myself in that moment, because I was feeling myself going off the deep end. So what I'm saying with that, not too deep, y'all, but what I'm saying with that is I had to reaffirm myself so that I can handle what I needed to handle. This morning I was fine. Yesterday I was fine, but now I had a little monkey wrench in my system. I had to not let that defeat me. I had to defeat it. Okay, so I'm done, y'all. I'm done.
Miss Wanda, can I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
chime in?
Yes.
Because you hit on exactly where my mind was at. Trauma, childhood trauma, epigenetic trauma that transfers from your parents to you, and then to your children, and their children, that we are in a perpetual state of healing every day.
Yes.
And so, like you just said, we might have worked on some things yesterday, but then it pops up again today. So what do we do in those moments? And I, about 7 years ago, started on this journey because things started happening, patterns and cycles. And I'm like, where is this coming from? I thought I took care of that. And so I grew up too in a Christian environment. And I was taught, just pray about it, everything will be okay. And it's like, no, it's not okay. It's something more that has to be done. And so I started exploring other kinds of healing modalities. And, one of the biggest things that I learned about is like the chakras, and clearing them through the breath work, through vibrational work. And I'm just going to end it right here, but it's so many other modalities. But like you said, when something pops up, taking that moment to see where is this coming from. You have to just take a step back, because otherwise, in my past life, I'm 60 now. In the past years, I would just keep running through things and moving forward, pressing through, and not taking the time to center myself and see where this is coming from. Is it, is it an insult? Is it an injury? What is it? And then working on that particular thing. And so now I have the tools. I have the breath work. I have the yoga poses. I have the breathing. I have, the sound drums and so many other things. So I'm just saying, it's just so many tools that we have now to work on ourselves, but we have to just stop and see what's needed inside of us to move forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, what's in your tool belt? Build up your toolkit. We're gonna have a comment from Corey, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Gigi for some emotional freedom tapping. Corey?
Hey, thank you. I just want to say that I feel like a lot of people going around today, a lot of people are living their life based upon what's been said about them. I know I went through a lot of that coming up with my complexion and being dark and not wanting to be and hearing all these names about my complexion and what I look like. And before I knew it, my life was a product of what other people thought I was. It's funny, we talked about this just the other day on the Mind Fest meetup. It was about how if you're not careful, your life will be what other people wanted. And so what you have to do is you have to listen to your heart. As far as what I say, feel like I did was I had to listen to what my heart said I was by the dreams and stuff I had in me. I knew I'm meant to be great. I had these big old dreams and all this stuff was pulling me. And I just started to start focusing on that. And before I knew it, the more I went towards my dreams, the more I went towards what I loved, it created a different person in me. So I think sometimes we can focus too much on what people say and not on our own dreams and gifts, because your gift will create your passions, and your passions will create your provision. And so I just tell people, really shut off the noise, put yourself on D&D, and really hone in on what your dreams are, because that path is what's going to take you to who you ultimately need to be, because God created you for a purpose. So that purpose is what you already shaped for that purpose. Just like an apple seed has everything it needs in the beginning to be an apple tree. We the same way. When you made, God put that purpose in you and everything you need to be to accomplish that purpose. So if you focus on that purpose, really lock in on that, I think you'll ultimately filter out into who you're supposed to be. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Panel, thank you for being transparent and for sharing your stories. I personally gained some deeper insight for my own journey of healing that I'm on. And so, right now, another modality that we can use is emotional freedom tapping or emotional freedom technique. And so, I'll turn it over to Dr. Gigi.
Yes, thank you so much. This is really touching my soul, filling me up with so many stories about, how we've experienced unworthiness. And, everybody that's in this room, I know many of you, and we can't be unworthy. We just can't be. We've gone through too much, but unfortunately we oftentimes are looking at the glass half empty and seeing all these things that are just not true, or experiencing fear as false evidence appearing real. And so I want to take you through this tapping journey. It's called Rooted in Worth, Reclaiming Worthiness as an African American Soul. Now, this is something I want to go viral. I believe if each and every African American person starts to see themselves as worthy, it's really going to impact who we are individually and collectively in a real and meaningful way. And so, this soulful journey to remember who you truly are. We were never meant to carry the weight of unworthiness. Yet, for so many of us, especially African American souls, messages of not being enough have echoed across the generations. Some were whispered in classrooms, others shouted through systems, and many were silently internalized through centuries of survival. But those messages are not the truth of who we are. So, this elevate and empower tapping journey is a sacred call to come home to your worth. It's a reclamation, a remembering, a rising. Through 4 rounds of intentional tapping, we're going to release the inherited pain. We're going to uproot the limiting beliefs. We're going to restore our power and root ourselves in the deep truths of who you are and who you've always been, worthy. And let this be your daily declaration, as Miss Wanda said, a spiritual reset, a loving ritual of resistance and rebirth all at the same time. Before we start this journey, I want to ask you all, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worthy do you feel as an African American? And 1 is, I am completely worthy. 10, not so much. Where do you sit on that scale? So we're not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the number is. The first number that comes to your gut is what we're going to go with. We're going to do a couple of rounds of tapping, and hopefully that number goes lower. If it doesn't, just do this tapping again and again until you get that score lower. The beautiful thing about tapping, I believe, is that it will change your mindset. It will get you into a place where you can think, you can go from, I don't think I can do something, to, oh yeah, I got this. That's what I love about tapping. So I'd like, before we start, I'd like you to just close your eyes. We're going to do a very short visualization. So close your eyes, take a deep breath in, exhale through your mouth. Let's take another inhale slowly and gently just release. Now imagine yourself standing tall beneath a vast ancient oak tree, its branches reaching to the sky, its roots deep in the soil of your ancestors. Feel the strength of this tree and know you are this tree. With every breath, see roots growing from the soles of your feet, reaching down into the rich, dark earth. This is sacred soil, nourished by generations of resilience, love, and wisdom. Feel the power of your lineage flowing up through these roots, into your legs, your belly, your heart. Hear the whispers of your ancestors. You are worthy. You are divine. You belong. And let this energy wrap around you like a warm blanket of truth. Stand tall, grounded, and whole. Knowing your worth is not something you earn, it's something you are. You don't have to do anything, just own it. So take another final breath in, and as you exhale, affirm gently to yourself, I am rooted, I am worthy, I am free. Excellent. Now just open your eyes, do what I do, and say what I say. Tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I've been told I'm not enough, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Even though I've sometimes doubted my worth, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Eyebrow point. I'm letting go of all these old beliefs. Side of eye. I release any resistance to what I'm feeling. Under eye. I am not what they said I was. Under nose. I am releasing this burden of unworthiness. Under mouth. Ancestral pain stops with me. Collarbone. I release inherited self-doubt. 3 inches below the armpit. I deserve more. Top of head. I release what's not mine. Let's release the tapping. Take a deep, conscious breath, inhaling through the nose, visualizing a white, peaceful light. And now exhaling through the mouth with an audible sigh, everything that is not peace and love. Now we're going to embrace truth. Karate chop point. Even though I've been overlooked and unseen, I remember who I am. Eyebrow point. I was born worthy. Side of eye. Worthiness is my birthright. Under eye. I carry sacred value. Under nose. My story matters. Under mouth. I belong. Collarbone. I am divinely made. 3 inches below the armpit. I am deeply rooted. Top of head. I rise in my worth. Release the tapping. Let's take a deep conscious breath, inhaling through the nose, visualizing a white peaceful light. And now exhaling through the mouth with an audible sigh, everything that is not peace and love. Now we're going to restore our power. Karate chop point. I now choose to reclaim my value. I give myself permission to shine. Eyebrow point. I reclaim my identity. Side of eye. I walk in dignity. Under eye. I restore my inner crown. Under nose. I carry my ancestors with pride. Under mouth. I speak my truth freely. Collarbone. I'm allowed to take up space. 3 inches below the armpit. I embody my greatness. Top of head. I trust my power. Release the tapping. Let's take a deep conscious breath, inhaling through the nose, visualizing a white peaceful light. And now exhaling through the mouth with an audible sigh, everything that is not peace and love. And now we're going to anchor in living worthy every day. Karate chop point. I choose to live as someone worthy. I now walk in freedom and grace. Eyebrow point. I celebrate my essence. Side of eye. I move with confidence. Under eye. My presence is impactful. Under nose. I deserve joy and success. Under mouth. I welcome abundance. Collarbone. I honor myself daily. 3 inches below the armpit. I am worthy of love. Top of head. I am rooted in self-worth. Butterfly taps on your shoulder. I was born worthy. Nothing can change that. My ancestors walk with me as I rise. I embody sacred value every single day. Release the tapping. Let's take one last deep conscious breath, inhaling through the nose, visualizing a white peaceful light. And now exhaling through the mouth with an audible sigh, everything that is not peace and love. There. So that was the round of tapping. So on that same scale of 1 to 10, on that same scale of 1 to 10, how worthy do you feel as an African American now? 1 was absolutely on point, 10 was not at all. How do you rate now? Has your score gone lower? I'd love to see where your score started from and where it ended. So Dr. Reggae, I think you went from a 7 to a 3. And Hadara, you're completely worthy. I love that. Dr. Crosby, where did you start and where did you end?
I started at 7, ended at 9.
Okay, so you feel better. You feel more worthy?
Yes, more ready.
I love that. Ashley, you started at a 4. Nina, where did you start?
Hey, so I started at like a 5.
Okay. Where did you end up?
So I ended up at like 9.
Okay. Okay. So you feel more worthy?
Exactly. Yes, definitely. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. How about you, Corey? Where did you start it? Where did you end?
And the interpreter has a raised hand.
Oh, yes, interpreter. Yes, Erica.
Okay, she's saying no, she didn't mean that.
Oh,
Well, okay, so I'm trying to work honestly, but this is just so powerful as a single mom in white America that does not like my 15-year-old son. You know, I tell him all the time, you're in it, but you're not of it, because we live in a predominantly white neighborhood just because of the schools, right? And every day I tell him, you are worth 1,000 of what somebody's going to say you are. And just having the affirmation tonight, you know, God puts you where you're supposed to be, because I wasn't supposed to be interpreting tonight.
ah,
But I'm listening to you women and just having the affirmation from just a panel of strange but not strange queens, because we'll never be strangers to each other, right? Because of just shared experiences from the transatlantic trade to now, right? So, hello, sisters. It's nice to meet you and thank you.
it's so nice to meet you, Erica. So I want to thank you all for going through this tapping. One thing about tapping, it's a scientifically proven method to reduce stress and anxiety like that. And I use it in my practice, in my coaching, to help change your mindset. Because when you can change your mindset, it's on. You know, you can feel better, you can have the platform to really do those things that you want to do. And I know it's getting a little later in time, and we want to be mindful of your time and honor your time. And so I am going to move forward to share a little bit about our sponsors. Afrolink Media is one of our sponsors. And I'm just going to share my screen real quick. So AfroLeak Media specializes in creating cards, media that will support African Americans. There are flashcards, sight words, affirmations, alphabets, Swahili. We even have cards in Spanish. They're affordably priced, about $25. You can get a bundle. There's some and it's beautiful artwork created by Dr. Tia Hairston Johnston. She created a lot of these really for her kids. She wanted to provide African American focused learning to her kids, and now she's made it available to the world. And so I'm going to post a link here in the chat. I'll post that. And then the next information I would like to show, well, let me post it in the chat first. The next piece of information is on Boundary Badass. That is my book. And so this book will teach you how to say no without feeling guilty and recognize that no is a complete sentence in and of itself. I'd also like to support Corey Cofield of I60 Studios, building websites, media productions, all available. And now I'd like to turn that over to Dr. Wanda, Miss Wanda.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gigi. We really appreciate it. This has been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful event, a wonderful afternoon. I've gotten so many good nuggets, and I hope that all of you have as well. And I have a call to action for you. So, this has been a powerful day. It's been a powerful day filled with deep conversation, and I hope that a lot of it resonated with each of you in your own way. And I want to challenge each of us to take one courageous step towards our own liberation. Another courageous step, if some of you have already started on that journey. But whether it's writing a letter to yourself, whether it's like we talked about, lotioning and loving. Oh, I like that. Lotioning and loving our body. Whether it's releasing an old belief or affirming one of your sister's strength. Let's take some action. Let's reclaim our worthiness. And it is a daily practice, as I mentioned. It's a daily practice and it's an intentional choice. So let's not just absorb today's conversation. Let's move with it. Let's heal out loud and let's learn to, let's just soak in all of the goodness. And so that we can now share that with the world. So reaffirming our self-worth is and sisterhood is something that we can all do. And as we end our time together, I want to leave you with this, that our worthiness has never, ever, no matter what anybody says, has never been up for debate. That we are and we always have been enough. And as we leave this space, let's carry each other forward in love. Let's carry each other forward in truth and unwavering solidarity, because you are powerful. I am powerful. We are powerful. We're worthy and we're seen. And you are never alone. You've got a community of sisters and brothers right here. So let's stay together. Let's make sure that we understand that we are worthy. So let me hear you say it. We are worthy.
We are
Worthy.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
are
Thank you.
worthy. We
So
are
now you guys have to sign it.
Oh, let's show us that.
Index finger tap from the same side of the body and carry over to the opposite side. We, and the sign worthy, take the F position, the thumb and the index finger, bring it together and make a circle. Worthy.
We are worthy.
Tie it
Oh,
together.
I love that.
We are worthy.
We are worthy.
Yes, we learned something new today.
and
Make sure you are following Dr. Gigi for more conversation like this with the Color Connection. I want to thank everyone for spending the afternoon with us. Until we meet again, I just say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. And Dr. Gigi, I'll turn it over to you for last words.
Wow. Well, all I have to do is say, wow, wow, wow. And I think all of the panelists, thank you, Miss Wanda, for, you are the hostess with the mostest. We got, like I said, well, earlier I said it was 500%, but then as more people logged on, it was more than that. It was more like 700% increase of registrations from our first event. So I'm so, so grateful. And I commit and want to have another call to action. Let us have this conversation go viral, with the visualization, whatever. We are planting seeds of worthiness for all African Americans, for all people. And so I want to thank you all. It's been a pleasure serving and supporting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica.